So hello everyone and welcome Peter.
Thank you
So
for having me, Anna.
I didn't do spoiler this time. I've tried to invite a couple of the most inspiring people for me and to offer it to my group, my community. And every time I was like, well, it's a surprise. And maybe the day before is like, I can't wait. So I told them, and this time it's a complete surprise. So they're
Oh,
seeing your
cool.
face for the first time. So let me give you a little bit of context, Peter. It's a group of 20 people that I've been coaching, some of them for like a couple of years and some of them for like a couple of months, actually, thanks to coronavirus. And well, thanks to coronavirus, you know what I mean? And the whole deal is like, we are just a group of people committed to growing our practices from the inside out. And that means, yes, helping people heal from the inside out, but actually get to know ourselves from the inside out. And every single procedure, I'm not here to tell them what to do, but actually draw it out kind of thing. What do you want? And be congruent with that. And that's why I love you and I love Stu. And that's the kind of mentors that I, get attracted to kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now with this whole situation, everything is a little bit accentuated, the good stuff and the bad stuff. And so I'm kind of like doubling up also in a little bit of support and inspiration. So Peter Amlinger for the group, it's one of those speakers that, when you're at a conference, normally like I've seen you at Cairo, Europe. I don't know if I met you when I was at Life, but it doesn't really matter. It's like he goes on stage and you just sit down and the audience, you go, this is gonna be good. And it's like, so good. And I was like, I need to ask him if he can just talk to us. And I don't have anything ready. I just feel like telling you, what do you want to share? I don't have a question.
Oh, and that's awesome, because I do have Innate dropped a message in on me, and I'm humbled to be here and to be sharing with your group. I just love how passionate you are about chiropractic, and you really appreciate the principle, but you understand that that the only way you can grow your practice is by growing yourself, right? And we've got to clear our mental and emotional subluxations to free ourselves up, so we can just be a vessel that Innate can serve through. And so that's been my walk for 35 years. May 4th, I'll have been a chiropractor. That's when I graduated.
Wow.
And I'm over here in Canada, just outside Toronto. My hair's looking a little ragged because I can't get a haircut, and whatnot. We're allowed to see urgent care people here, so I'm in my office by myself. I've never been in my office alone. I've always had a CA from the day I opened my door. And in fact, the advice I give chiropractors starting out is the two things you really need to start your practice are a CA and an adjusting table. You really don't need anything else. And X-ray, we can take X-rays in Canada, so I've always had an X-ray unit. But I've been 2 weeks in my office by myself, and I can absolutely say never, ever, ever, ever practice without a CA. Because I'm doing everything, and I didn't even know the password to my front desk computer when I started 2 weeks ago. I had never taken a payment in 35 years of practice. I had never booked an appointment. I had never pulled a file. I had never put a file. I'd done nothing except adjust and educate people. So when RCAs come back to work, we're going to have a massive party. I'm going to cook for them. We're going to probably get drunk, and I'm going to give them a big raise. And they get paid handsomely already, but I just know what I really, really, really appreciate their value now. But having said that, when I'm sitting down here and I'm seeing I'm seeing about 15% of my volume, right? I saw 107 people this week. That's like, and I'm thankful for each and every one, right? And I had a few years ago, if you remember, Anna, I had broken up my wrist pretty bad, and there was a question as to whether I'd ever practice again. and 4.5 months later, I was back in practice. And so I sort of proved the medical people wrong, and whatnot. And but it was really a useful experience for me because I missed adjusting so much, and so now I approach every adjustment as if it's going to be my last adjustment, because you never know, right? And so I call it the first and last principle. So every time I check a patient, even if since I'm on my computer now, it tells me how many adjustments people have had in their time with me. So I've got patients who have been with me 35 years. They've had over 1,000 adjustments with me. And I'm like, that's cool, but you can get complacent as if you're seeing the person week after week or every couple of weeks. And now it's like, you know what, I'm going to check them and adjust them as if it's the last time I'm ever going to. But I'm also going to adjust them as if it's the first time I've ever adjusted them. So it's brand new. And that just keeps me in the now, totally in the present moment. And because that's where the magic happens, right? And so as I was contemplating that, I happen to train Taekwondo these days as well. And really, if anything has bummed me out about this present circumstance, and I choose not to call it a pandemic, I just choose to call it a circumstance. What's bumming me out is that I was supposed to grade for my first degree black belt June 6th.
Wow.
And I turned 60 in August, and I really wanted to get my first Dan before I'm 60, and the universe might have a different plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm still training every day and whatnot, but I don't know if it's going to happen. So I'm training for the sake of training, which is what I should be doing anyway.
There you go.
But in my training, I've tapped into some martial artist wisdom, Bruce Lee being one of them. And Bruce Lee said, the successful warrior is the average person with laser-like focus. So the successful warrior is an average person with laser-like focus. So I meditated.
Notes.
Yeah. So while you're recording, I believe. But so I meditated on that, and I thought, you know what? None of us are average, right? B.J. Palmer said, within each of us is the divinity of infinity. And we know that innate intelligence is infinite and unlimited in its potential, and that it's what's running the show. So none of us are average. So I looked at that quote and I reflected and I said, if we lose our laser-like focus, we become average, right? And so when I reflect on that, and when I observe myself and when I observe people in my circle, I've realized that we're all masters of focus. We all have the ability to express laser-like focus. We all demonstrate the capacity to focus on something in a laser-like fashion. It might not be a good thing, right? It might be a fear that we're focused on. It might be a limit or a virus or a limiting belief, right? But we all have demonstrated to one another the ability to demonstrate laser-like focus. So we all have the capacity. So when we bring those two things together, we all have the divinity of infinity within us, and we all have the ability to demonstrate laser-like focus. So the question then becomes, what are you focusing on, right? Are you focusing on the news channels these days and talking about how bad the virus is, the number of deaths, the number of new cases, the need to self-isolate, to wash your hands till they look like ground meat? And some of us are, right? And others, and so what we have to appreciate is that whatever we focus on becomes our reality, right? So our outside world is just a manifestation of our dominant thoughts. And so if we're focusing on the news, we're actually creating more of what we're currently in. On the other hand, I see a lot of people focusing on conspiracy theories, on how it's Bill Gates behind it, and it's this person behind it, and it's about us all mandatory vaccinations and microchips and blah, blah. And it's so if you're investing energy focusing on that stuff, you're helping to create it, right? And so then I came across another quote, and it says, make your vision so clear that your fears become irrelevant. Right? And so if we're expressing this laser-like focus on something that we actually choose to focus on, that serves us and that serves humanity, then we start to manifest that vision and our fears drop away. The things that we put in the way of that just drop away, right? Because the higher vibration of our vision will trump out our fears. Right. And so, you know, it's been said that, you know, I mean, I remember the day where it's like, I'm more afraid to not tell people about chiropractic than I am to tell them about it. Some people are afraid to tell the story and to tell the truth. And it's like, no, I'm more afraid not to, because I understand what happens when people are living disconnected. So I would offer, what are you focusing on, right? And you have the opportunity right now to change your focus if you've been focusing on the bad stuff. Right now, and so right now I'd offer we can focus on three things. One, we can focus on the divinity of infinity within us. So spend time every day going inside yourself and finding that sacred space. Going into the silence, which is what my mentors, Dr. Sigafus and Dr. Santo and Sid Williams and J. Clay Thompson taught me, and others. Right, so go in and court the silence. I'm doing a morning meditation at 8:30 in Canada, 8:30 a.m. in Canada, 20 minutes of a breath to heart meditation, and we're just going into the sacred space. Anyone's welcome to join it. So we go in and we go into that sacred space where we connect with the infinite portion of ourselves, the divine portion of ourselves, which is our essence, which is love. And from there, that's where our vision lives. And so you need to understand that the vision for your life was tattooed on your soul when you were loved into existence. And so if you step in to that quiet space and just sit in silence and pray, literally just sit and ask the Creator for a vision, it's going to show up. When you demonstrate to the Creator, to Great Spirit, to universal intelligence that you're ready for your vision, it will show up. And once it shows up, then that's your dominant focus. You live, you eat, sleep, and crap it. It just comes out of every pore of your being. And that's all you think about, right? So even if you're sitting watching a rerun of a soccer match, you're thinking about your vision, right? Dr. Sid always was thinking about his vision. Always, always, always. BJ always thinking about his vision, even when he took time away. So we're going to focus on our purpose, vision, and mission by going inside and getting in touch with it. And so even right now, and you're also looking at a guy, by the way, who built his practice by focusing on his vision. I've never advertised. I never went out and did screenings. I just educated every patient who came in my door, checked them and adjusted them, let innate run the show, and I've had a bustling practice from the day I opened my door. Right? So if I can do it, anybody can, without a doubt. So we're going to focus on that vision that's within us. And my vision is simply a humanity free of chronic subluxation, fully connected to source through their innate intelligence, fully connected to each other through our collective innates, fully connected to all of creation through that divine connection. And that's my vision. So I just constantly see and sit and think, what would the world look like? Not would, what does the world look like free of chronic subluxation? And then I think about the chiropractic principle, right? So every time somebody sent me something this morning about how the virus just has a behavior, some specialist has said this just has a behavior, and it's got to run its course, whether you quarantine or not, whether you isolate or not, whether you wear masks or not, it's going to look the same. And I went, principle number 6. It's a process, it requires time, right? So I just go and I filter every experience I have through the 33 principles, right? Principle number 6, principle number 1, principle number 5. And so everything's just an expression of the principle. And so I focus on my purpose, vision, and mission. Everything with awareness, I experience everything through the filter of our 33 principles. And then I focus on the dynamic essential, which is our principle in action. And Sid Williams came up with the dynamic essential, and he says the dynamic essential is the new spirit born into the consciousness of a man or a woman when they become aware of, humble to, loyal to, and obedient to the will of God within themselves. So when they understand that universal intelligence speaks through us or to us through our innate intelligence, and our only obligation is to be aware of that inner voice and follow it. When that happens, we become dynamic. And Dr. Sid said, and that is essential. So it's just tapping into that friend within and letting it run your life. Everything from, what shirt do I wear today? I've got my Spine Whisperer shirt on today, right? What am I going to eat today? What do I feel like eating? So we start to feel our way through life instead of thinking our way through life. And so I focus on that and I court it. I go inside, as I mentioned, I just court that silence. And then then it's just about lasting purpose, which is the sharing of these principles. And the lasting purpose principle is to do, to give, to love, to serve out of our own abundance without any conscious thought of return. So we simply give for the sake of giving, love for the sake of loving, and serve for the sake of serving. And we do it knowing that the universe is infinitely abundant and that whatever we sow in service, we're going to reap, and the universe is always going to support us and take care of us. So today it's like, I meditated and innate said, if we just, this is just how it works. I got quiet. Like I've got, my income, I support 2 families, right? And so I'm like, how am I going to do this? Because, my wife's in the business and I've laid my staff off and I just got a number in my head. This much, if we do this much a week, we'll be fine. I don't know where it's coming from. Right. And so then my staff are checking in on me and they're like, how'd you do today? Who was in? I say, did they pay? I'm like, yeah, they paid. They offered to pay. What? They never pay. Like we have to hound them to pay. I'm like, no, they volunteered. They actually bought a block. What? Right? It's just happening. And so I've been at least 20% over my number or more since this all started. It's not me doing it. It's the universe doing it. It's just happening. Right? You get that? I'm not forcing it. The number came to me from above, down, inside out. So that's what I'm focusing on, this much or more per week. Thank you, Great Spirit. Right? And that's my process. And so I suggest, it doesn't matter if you're in practice a month, a year, 2 years, 10 years, 35 years. Right now, start picturing your office the way you want it to be. One of my favorite quotes is from a play called The Man of La Mancha. Miguel Cervantes wrote it. You may be familiar with it over in your neck of the woods.
Heard about
and,
it.
and he talks about the types of madness. And the quote ends by saying, the greatest madness of all is to see the world as it is instead of as it should be. Right? So our responsibility is to see the world as it should be. So in our group, 8:30 every morning, we're spending time seeing the earth shrouded in white light and love. and healing. We see the Earth Mother healing. We see humanity healing. We see cities thriving, chiropractic offices thriving, other businesses thriving. We see a community of people fully connected and clear to themselves, to source, to one another, supporting one another. We see a culture of cooperation instead of competition. And we just sit and we hold the vision. And so right now, if you can't practice, you can practice. You can practice in the fourth dimension, in your sacred space. And that is the place where all spirits live. It's where manifestation happens. So it won't happen in the outside world until you see it in the inner world. So you sit and you see it, and you see your office thriving and your town and the whole thing. And you see it, and then you feel the feeling, the exuberance, the joy, the bliss. And you sit in that feeling and contemplate that picture, and that impregnates the universe. And then over time, the universe will give you opportunities, and it's your responsibility to be aware of the opportunity when it shows up and act on it. So maybe you're standing in line in the grocery store when you're allowed to talk to people again, and innate says, ask them about their headaches. So now you got a choice. Do you ask about the headache and maybe look like an ass? Or do you not? Well, I've always chosen, I'm like, you just have that face. It looks to me like you get a lot of headaches. Is that true? And people are like, how do you know that? I'm like, I'm a chiropractor. I can tell by looking at people's eyes. And it sparks a conversation. And all of a sudden there's a new patient in my office. That's how I built my practice, right? It's like, man, you're really jammed up in here in your mid back when I'm checking a new patient. It's like, do you have any gut issues? They look at me and they're like, no, I don't, but my wife does. Maybe I should get them checked too. Might be a good idea. That's how I've done it, right? All by innate proddings. Simply like, ask this, say that. And you can do it too, if I can. So it all starts though by shifting your focus if you have to, expressing, and start by thinking of a time in your life where you've demonstrated laser-like focus. And it might be easier to focus on something that's negative as opposed to trying to find something that's positive. But find something, and just so you can prove to yourself that you can actually do it. Right? Like I say to people, say, I want to quit smoking, but I don't have the commitment. I'm like, that's absolutely not true. You're one of the most committed smokers I've ever met in my life. Just choose the different commitment. And it sounds simple, and you know why it does? Because it is. So demonstrate to yourself that you can focus, and then start shifting your focus. And if your focus wanders, don't be kind to yourself. Just bring your focus back, right? Spend time every day going into the silence. Build your vision out and don't worry about, and it's so great you're working with Anna, because all she cares about is that you get your vision. Right? And I don't want your vision to be my vision, and Nana doesn't want your vision to be her vision. She wants it to be your vision. And then we'll support that. So, you know, too many people out there are chasing somebody else's definition of success. And so stop that and just find out what it means to you. You know, and like I've been a high volume practitioner for 35 years. And part of me is like, I don't like seeing 107 people a week. I'm not going there. But I don't know that I need to see like 6 people or 8 people every 10 minutes anymore either. Right? So I've always worked from, you know, and I know it's different in Europe, but in Canada, our work days from like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, right? I've always worked from 7 in the morning until 7:30 at night.
Wow.
I kind of like going home, and that's just where my focus has been, right? I'm stopping at 6 these days. I kind of like being home at 6:15, right? Not eating, you know, Spanish time when I'm not in Spain. Or maybe I'll go there. I don't, but I'm taking the opportunity to say, you know what, there's parts of this that I actually kind of like. You know, I like starting my office at 9. Who knew? I used to start at 6:30 in the morning. I know some of y'all are just going to bed around then, right? So this is an opportunity for us to crystallize our vision, to spend time sitting with our vision and contemplating it, to make distinctions about what we love and don't love about how we used to do it. And it also is a time where we can clean up our expression of the chiropractic story, not just individually, but as a profession, because it's, you know, over here, people are saying, get adjusted, it'll minimize your chance of getting COVID-19. Like, that's just bullshit, right? And it's not chiropractic. Chiropractic simply optimizes your adaptability. It optimizes your ability to sense and respond to your environment. But it doesn't mean you're going to be immune from stuff. That's just crazy. In fact, our immune system needs a challenge. That's how it stays strong and healthy. So we got a chance here to go out after this is over, when humanity is going to be more stressed than ever before. And we're going to say, listen, we can help you get back on track and back adapting again. This is what chiropractic's all about. So start thinking about that. I'm thinking about, you know, I know people are going to come in and they're going to need extra care to get back on track. And some of them haven't been working, so money's going to be an issue. So I'm thinking about what sort of offering I'm going to give them. And it's going to be a relatively low fee for unlimited care for the first month or two, just to get them back on track. Why am I doing that? Because innate told me to, right? So take all these opportunities in front of us and apply this model of going inside to the sacred space, focusing on those things you choose to manifest in your life, and allow those pictures and visions to come to you from above down, inside out. Focus on the principle, be the dynamic essential, and we can still go out and love and give and serve, even if we can't practice chiropractic the way we'd love to at this point in time. So that's what I wanted to share today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Geez, Peter.
That felt okay.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You know what? The biggest thought that came through my head, and I'm still recording because I want them to know this. Some of them know, but you know, when I left medical school in 4th year, I went to a chiropractor's health talk. And obviously I did not understand chiropractic because I never got adjusted. But I think educatedly, I understood, or it just made sense because I ended up at life.
Yep.
And my English was horrible. So I probably understood 1/3 of the orientation class. But I got the same energy that you just gave me. And it was this sense of mission, purpose, service, love. And right after, I went home and I called my parents. It's like, I did not understood the dude here, and he was Rickman at the time. And I said, I'm home. And I had not been adjusted yet. It took me a month because I didn't understand what chiropractic was. And people told me, it's like, how not adjustment? It's like, I was in medical school and I went through surgery. I hadn't made that shift, but it's like, I am home. And
that's cool.
I just got the same feeling. It's like, it was like, oh my, I'm home. So,
well, and Emerson said, thoughts and feelings pass through walls that words can never penetrate. So it's about the vibration we're putting out, right? And I was, you know my story, I think you've heard it. I was in trouble and I was in the guidance office of my all-boys Catholic high school, and the priests were deliberating, and I read the definition of chiropractic, and a voice inside me said, this is what you're supposed to do with your life. And I said, okay. And so that moment, the principle saved my life, because I was on the wrong path. And it took me 2 years to get to a chiropractor after that, but I went from, you know, that kid to a straight A student with a purpose, vision, and a mission.
Yep. It's
For
like,
sure.
and you don't see it at the time sometimes because I had no clue what it
You
was.
just got to trust and say yes.
Like I was trusting something, and at life at that period, that first month, it's the first time I heard, and I remember calling my parents. My dad was a very vitalistic medical doctor, but very vitalistic,
Yes.
very spiritual. And I called him and I said, Dad, I've heard a voice in my head. And I know I'm not going crazy because it feels right. It's the first time I heard a voice, and the voice said, life is a lonely journey, but don't worry, you don't have to feel alone. It means it's your life. So be strong and just take one step at a time. But the sentence I heard was, life is a lonely journey. And I was like, am I going on depression or something? But it felt so right, as in, you are you. Take ownership. Like, be Anna. Be unapologetically you, which is what's offering me, like this coronavirus situation has been the biggest gift for me. Like, man, next level, right?
Yep.
But that life, that was the first time that I literally heard a voice in my head. And I have never done meditation, any type of breath work, any type of nothing. I was like, oh my, where am I?
That's very cool. And it's available to all of us, right? That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you, Peter. I cannot wait to share this interview with this. With the group. And I just want you to know that I might share it. I have a newsletter, and there are like a couple of people subscribing. They're not part of the coaching group, but I feel like compelled to share you with more people.
Absolutely. If anyone has any questions for me, just have them reach out. They can find me where they find me.
Thank
Love
you.
and appreciate you. God bless.
Bye.
Bye now.